Hi guys, welcome back to Fair's Tutorials. In today's episode, we're looking at food, nutrition, and health. Paper 1, past paper questions, and we'll be exploring 30 questions in today's session. Are you ready? Let's go! CSEC past paper questions for paper 1, and this is part 2 where we're looking at another 30 multiple choice questions. Let's get started. Now, number 1, which of the following nutrients when deficient in the diet leads to the disease osteoporosis? Now, when we speak of osteoporosis, we're speaking about that deficiency disease wherein a particular nutrient is lacking. So what? The bones become porous and brittle and they're easily broken. Now, let us look at these minerals that are listed and we'll see which one of these minerals makes bone what? Strong and healthy. A, iron. B, iodine. C, sodium. And D, calcium. Now, if your answer was calcium, you're indeed correct, right? So iron is associated with, when we have inadequate amount of iron, it is associated with anemia. Inadequate amount of iodine is associated with goiter. And when we have too much sodium, so person having too much sodium in their diet, not deficient this time, but having too much is linked to hypertension. So the ideal option, the correct option there is D for calcium. All right, next question. Which of the following factors can affect food security and cause undernutrition in infants? Now, when we speak of food security, guys, you remember what food security is? So it is when all persons, when everyone at all times have access to clean, adequate, and nutritious foods, right? So let us look at which one of these factors may affect food security. A, chronic diseases. B, lifestyle diseases. C, infectious diseases. And D, non-communicable diseases. Now, the ideal response, the correct response here is C, which is infectious diseases, such as, let us take a look at what is happening now. So we're maybe speaking of COVID-19, right? Right, that is an infectious disease. Now, do you notice at some point, even now, there are some products that are not available at the market because some persons are what? Laid off. Farmers are sick, so they may have to stay at home, get well, and therefore the food supply chain is affected, right? So we have an example there. So the ideal answer is C, which is infectious diseases. Good? All right, let us now move on. Which of the following foods supply the most carbohydrates? Which of the following foods supplies the most carbohydrates? So we see most there in all caps, meaning that what? Some of these foods in the option may have some level of carbohydrate in there, but we're asking for the most, right? So A, yam pie. B, beef burger. Because you know with that burger, you may have what? The bread there as well, but we're looking for the one with the most carbohydrate. C, split peas soup. And D, curried chicken. Now, the ideal response here would be the yam pie. Good? All right. So, you know that is from, the yam is from the staples group. And the main nutrient that we get from staples is carbohydrate. Next question. Which of the meals listed below is best suited for vegan or strict vegetarian? So another name for vegans are also strict vegetarians. And who are vegans or strict vegetarians? They are persons who exclude all animal products from their diet. So these persons only consume vegetables, good? And they will get their protein sources from the legumes group. All right, so now let us look at these responses. A, rice, pigeon peas, tomato salad, and banana, right? So we're looking for a option that has no form of animal products or byproducts in there. Good. B, pizza with cheese and sausage, fruit salad. So we know that this is a no-no, right? Because it has cheese in there as well as sausage. Good. C, yogurt, hand sandwiches, stewed guavas. That's a no-no there either, because the yogurt is in there, which is made from dairy, right? D, split pea soup, peanut butter sandwich, and also egg custard. D is also a no-no because we have the egg there, making the egg custard, which is an animal product. So the ideal answer, after we have eliminated those options that are not possible, then our answer here is A, which is rice, pigeon peas, tomato salad, and also banana. Right. Next question. The carbohydrate found on the crust of toasted bread is A, starch, B, dextrin, C, cellulose, and D, glycogen. Now, when we apply dry heat, so when we toast the bread, we're applying dry heat to starch. The process that browning that happens to the toast is called what? Dextrinization. So dextrin is coming from the word, which word? All right, so you can see there that our answer here is B. Next question. To help prevent anemia, expectant mothers should take increased amount of. So anemia is associated with when we have a lack of iron in the body, then persons become anemic, as well as when there is a lack of vitamin C as well, because we know that the two works together to absorb iron. Good. So A, liver and kidneys, which are what? Rich sources of iron. B, milk and cheese. C, bread and butter. And D, oranges and coconuts. Which is the ideal answer, guys? If your answer is A, you are correct. All right, next questions. A nutritious snack for an obese person is, so an obese person is someone who is what? Overweight. Good. So the extent to which they have accumulated body fat that is what? Negatively impact their health. So we're looking for something that is not sweet and something that is not fatty either. So A, pawpaw. B, potato chips. Could it be potato chips? No, because this is high in starch and it also may be fried. Coconut cake, which is also sweet. Chocolate fudge, it's also sweet. So the ideal answer here is A, which is pawpaw. Good, which is a fruit there. Next question. Which of the following group of persons need extra iron in their diets? Vegetarians, invalids, and athletes. Women, toddlers, and persons recovering from injuries. C, growing children, convalescents, and manual worker. D, teenagers, senior citizens, and sedentary workers. Now, who do you think will need the most iron? Right? So persons, so women will also cover what? Female teenagers as well, we could say, right? So we're looking for the best response here. Persons who are recovering from injuries, yes. So the answer here is D. Now let's move on to our next question. Which of the following combination of food is an appropriate source of protein for a low-income family? A. Ham and turkey. B. Cheese and shrimp. C. Eggs and fresh fish. D. Beans and canned sardines, right? So the most ideal answer here, guys, is what? Beans and sardines. Remember, we get beans from the legumes and nuts group, and their main nutrient is also protein, right? So beans are normally low income, they are inexpensive, and also the canned sardines there as well. So with the other options that are there, you know that the option D is the most affordable. Good. Next question. Which of the following breakfast menus is written in the correct order? So which of the following breakfast menus is written in the correct order? So when we're writing our breakfast menus, what comes first? Whereas with dinner or lunch menus, when we have the beverage at the end, with breakfast menu, we have our fruit or fruit juice. Then it may be a hot cereal, depending on the type of breakfast. Then it would be what? Protein, the carbohydrate, and the hot beverage. Now let's see which one of these options is most suitable. A. Hot chocolate, buttered bread, orange juice. You know that's a no-no for you. You see it starts off with the hot beverage at the beginning. B. Orange juice, fried egg, buttered toast, hot chocolate. Awesome. Now let us look at the others. B is looking really good there. Buttered bread, no. D also start with orange juice, but guess what? The protein would come next. Therefore, the answer here is B, where we have orange juice, fried eggs, buttered bread, and hot chocolate. Good. Next question. Which of the following is not important in ensuring food safety when purchasing food? So when we're answering multiple choice question or any question at all, we have to look out for these key terms. And you notice not is in all caps. In some questions, it may not be highlighted. So we have to look and read the questions carefully. So we're looking at which of the following is not important in ensuring food safety when purchasing food. A. Choose foods that look fresh. B. Buy from reputable suppliers. C. Check for expiry date on packets and cans. So far we're looking good, right? Let us see what D has. Select expensive foods since they are of better quality. Now your answer here is D, right? So it's not necessarily that we must select expensive food, but we must also look for freshness. We also should buy from reputable suppliers and also check the expiry dates. Good. So the answer there is D. Next question. Which of the following best illustrates the role of consumer organization in relation to food and nutrition? A. Prepare a national budget. B. Buy foods which are in season. C. Prepare the family budget. D. Educate the public on food standards. And your answer there is D, right? So when we speak of consumer organization, we may speak of Bureau of Standards, right? So Bureau of Standards ensure that there's always quality products for customers on the market. When we speak of Customer Affairs Commission, these are the persons that educate consumers on their rights and responsibilities. When we speak of Weight and Measurement Division, these persons ensure that what? 1 ounce in Jamaica is 1 ounce in Trinidad, is 1 ounce in Guyana, right? So they ensure that measurements are standardized right across the board so persons can get value for their money. All right. Thyme leaves were picked from the garden. and placed in warm oven for 3 days. They became dry and brittle. This method is known as, so we're speaking of preservation here, guys. So let us look what happened. The thyme leaves were placed in the oven, and as a result, they became dry and brittle. Therefore, moisture was removed. Now, let us look at the options. A, heating. B, pickling. C, blanching. And D, dehydration. And the correct answer here is D, which is dehydration, because the moisture was removed from the leaves. All right, next question. And as you can see, it's a combination question. Which of the following is the correct sequence for preparing green beans for freezing? So we know that before we freeze green beans, we have to prepare them by what? Blanching them. Now let us see which of these is in the correct order, right? So 1, blanch and drain. 2, clean, wash and trim. 3, cut into suitable sizes. Now, which one do you think would come first, guys? Which one should come first? So we have to clean, right? So the first one I would say is to clean, wash, and trim, right? Then we cut into suitable sizes, and then we blanch and drain. So we're looking for clean, wash, and trim first. So that is number 2. Remember, we're putting them in order. So any option that doesn't start with 2, you know, we're eliminating those, right? So 2, clean, wash, and trim. Then what would come next? Then we would cut them into suitable sizes, which is 3. And finally, we would blanch and drain. So the ideal answer here is C. Good? So we clean, wash, and drain, which is 2. We cut into suitable sizes, which is 3. And for 1, we blanch and drain. So the ideal response there is C. All right, next question. Which of the following is the best method for a homemaker to use in preserving a surplus of cucumbers? So when we have too much cucumbers, how can we preserve them? A, drying. B, pickling. D, freezing. Good. Now the ideal answer here is pickling. Pickling, so we're speaking of the homemaker, so she can pickle her cucumbers and use it on sandwiches. Good. Which of the following pieces of equipment is most suitable to use when cooking tough cuts of meat? A, iron pot. B, saucepan. C, enamel pot. And D, pressure cooker, right? The ideal answer here is pressure cooker, as what the pressure cooker does is to force steam through the food so that it can cook at a quicker time. Next question. Mary is preparing a meal of rice pilaf, fish, and green beans. Which of the following pieces of equipment will be most appropriate for saving fuel and time? A, rice cooker. B, tiered steamer. C, pressure cooker. And D, saucepan steamer, right? Now what I included there for you is an image of what the tiered steamer looks like. Now we're cooking rice, we're cooking fish, and we're also cooking green beans. Now we're cooking 3 things, and our third steamer has what? Different levels, as you can see there in the image. So the ideal answer here would be a tiered steamer. Next question. Shirley's baked pastry shells had lost its shape due to shrinkage. Which of the following would prevent shrinkage? A, measure the fat correctly. B. Use correct oven temperature. C. Beating batter, ensure fat is evenly rubbed in. And D. Avoid stretching while rolling out. Now the ideal answer there, guys, is D, which is avoid stretching while rolling out. So when the pastry is stretched while rolling out, then the pastry will shrink. The shell will shrink. All right. Next question. The function of eggs in fish cakes is to, so I included an image of the fish cake there for some persons who may not be sure what who are not sure what a fish cake is, or persons who may be thinking of the regular pastry cake that we have when we speak of cake, right? So that is what the fish cakes looks like. So it's similar to what a burger patty would look like, right? So A, bind. B, lighten. C, thicken. And D, emulsify. Now all of these are function of the eggs, but in this case the ideal answer here would be to bind, because we want to bind all the ingredients together so that we can form the fish cakes, right? And they will hold together. Next question. The layout of the kitchen in the diagram may best be described as A, open. B, gallery. C, parallel. Or D, U-shaped. And as you can see from the image there, that what? That kitchen forms a U. So that's a U-shaped. All right. Next question. Foods placed in a refrigerator should be covered in order to A, prevent the formation of ice crystals on them. So remember, we're speaking of the refrigerator now, not necessarily the freezer, right? So option A, could we take option A out? All right, let's do the process of elimination. B, facilitate close packaging of dishes and bowls. No, not really either. C, maintain recommended storage temperature. And D, prevent them drying out and the transfer of strong odors. So the ideal answer there is what? Would be D. So we cover food to prevent them from drying out, because we know that air helps to deteriorate products. And when products are exposed to air, they lose moisture, and they can they can spoil easily. And also to prevent this transfer, imagine you putting a carton of milk in the refrigerator without covering it, or whatever juice there is, right? So the odors will, such as the onions or other seasoning, may be transferred. So it's very important for us to keep them covered to prevent the drying out, and also to prevent the transfer of strong odors. Next question. Which of the following pieces of information should be included on a food label? 1, the name of the product. 2, the cost of the product. 3, the net weight of the product. Right? Now let us look at, so we know that the cost of the product is normally stamped or by the merchandiser, right? So 2 would be any option with 2 we would leave out, right? So let us look at them now. So any option with 2 we don't want. So we have 2 here, 2 there, and also 2 in A. So guess what? We're leave with B. Now let us look what B says. So 1, the name of the product should be on the product, and also the net weight of the product. So the ideal answer there is B. All right, now let us move on to our next question. The following are ways by which a family can spend wisely. A, buying in bulk. B, comparative shopping. C, preparing a shopping list. D, investigating new products, right? So all of these are ways by which a family can spend wisely. Now let us look at the question. Which of the above ways best describes the practice of looking at different brands of the same product, or rather foods rather, when shopping at the supermarket? So if we're looking at different brands, we're what? We're comparing, right? So the answer here for this first one would be B. So we speak of comparative shopping. Next question. Which of the above ways is given the most consideration when items are used in large quantities? So if items are used in large quantities, that means we should buy them in, awesome, we should buy them in bulk. So the answer for this one is A. All right, good job. Let's move on. Whole wheat flour is preferred to white flour because whole wheat flour has A. more protein, B. a longer shelf life, C. more natural vitamins, D. a higher fiber content. No, the answer here is D, which is a higher fiber content. Now, when we have whole wheat flour, that flour is grown from the entire wheat kernel. As it relates to the white flour, only the endosperm that is used to create that flour, so that is refined. Therefore, with the whole wheat flour, when the entire kernel is used, we get the bran, we get all parts of it, the whole wheat, and therefore that will have a higher fiber content. Good. The answer is D there, which means the whole wheat flour has a higher fiber content. All right, our next question. Which of the following nutrients is required in greater quantities by women than men? Right? A, iron, B, protein, C, iodine, and D, fat. Now the ideal response there is iron, because women menstruate monthly and therefore they need constant and adequate intake or supply of the mineral iron to prevent what? Iron deficiency anemia. Next question. Which of the following may be prevented by an adequate intake of foods rich in vitamin A? A, scurvy, B, pellagra, C, beriberi, and D, night blindness. Now the ideal answer here, guys, is night blindness, or as vitamin A helps with the eye, so it helps the eye to make what? A substance called visual purple. Therefore, when we're not taking adequate amount of iron, then what? Persons can't see in dim light, which is a condition called night blindness, and eventually, if it gets worse, they will become completely blind, right? Now, next question. Dietary fiber is important in the diet because it prevents A, scurvy, B, constipation, C, anemia, D, diabetes. Now, the correct answer here is constipation. Another name for dietary fiber is roughage, right? And it helps to regulate bowel movements, all right? So scurvy is associated with vitamin C, anemia is associated with iron, and diabetes, when we consume too much sugary foods or starchy foods, then persons become diabetic, right? Now we're at our final two questions. First one, a polysaccharide present in the cell walls of fruits that causes jams and jellies to set is called A, dextrin, B, gelatin, C, pectin, D, cellulose. Now the correct answer here, guys, is pectin. Final question. Warm temperatures, moisture, and improper storage of food may all contribute to A, an unhealthy diet, B, dehydration of food, C, food contamination, and D, accidents in the home. The ideal answer here is food contamination. Good. As you can see, warm temperatures, especially in the temperature danger zone, moisture, improper storage, all those factors help to contribute. They provide the ideal environment or the ideal surroundings for microorganisms to reproduce. As you know, foods naturally contain microorganisms, especially if they're the high risk food. For instance, with chicken that has salmonella. So if we introduce chicken to warm temperatures, uncooked chicken, right? Whether cooked or uncooked, but let us look at the uncooked chicken. So if we introduce that to warm temperatures, the moisture is already there in the chicken, and improper storage, we're not storing it at the correct temperature at all, right? Or in hygienic surroundings, then it is very much at prone of becoming contaminated. You're awesome. You've made it to the end of the session. Please remember to subscribe, hit that like button, and turn on your post notification bells so that you can be notified when there's another upload. Most important of all, share with persons who you know will find this information useful. Thank you for making it very